Multicolored. We're going. It's where all the colors are in this set. Lord of the Rings limited set review time for the multicolored cards. That's what's going on here. So if that's not what you're looking for, you can still watch if you want. I don't know, but that's what's going on. Um, for those of you who do not know, let me get my camera out of the way. This is how I grade the cards. Tier 1, good cards. Tier 5, bad cards. You're not going to see a lot of Tier 1s in this set, because this is not a set with a lot of Tier 1 cards. Which obviously means that there will be worse cards that count as Tier 1, because generally, like, my philosophy on it is that, like, Tier 1 is the 60% or above win rate cards on 17 lands, and Tier 5 are anything below 50%, I think. Sort of where I'm striving to be, and sort of the other ones sort of fill in the middle there. Without further ado, let's get started. First is Aragorn, Company Leader. 1 green, white for a 3/3. When the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Aragorn as your ring bearer, put your choice of a counter from among First Strike, Vigilance, Death Touch, and Lifelink on Aragorn. Whenever you put one or more counters on Aragorn, put each of up to one of those kinds of counters on up to one other target creature. So basically, it's just like obviously it doesn't help you ring tempt you at all, right? So that's the one downside of this card is it doesn't do it. It doesn't work by itself. But like if the ability ever triggers, the game is like kind of over. Like you get to choose any of these counters to go on this and another creature, and that's just going to be huge. That's just going to be enormous. So your opponent basically has to kill this. Now it's not unkillable, but again, the set is a low power enough set that I just see this card and I'm like, yeah, this is like really strong. It's like an actual way to like impact like the game. It's a 3-mana 3/3, which is huge in this set. So yeah, I just really like the card. Did I skip too many? No, I did not. Aragorn the Uniter. He has gained 2 additional colors in uh, this card from the last card. He's red, green, white, blue for a 5/5. When you cast a white spell, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. When you cast a blue spell, scry 2. When you cast a red spell, it deals 3 damage to target opponent. And when you cast a green spell, target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. So it does a lot of cool stuff. Like, it's really big. It's a 4-mana 5/5. There is actually fixing in the set to like make this playable. So I think this is castable in some decks. I don't know like how worth it is. I've put it at tier 3 at like a cowardice grade. Because I just think it's going to be too tough to cast most of the time. But I think there's again, you never. I think pack 1 pick winning this is definitely a mistake. But if you get it like pack 1 pick 5 or something, like you could try to do something with it. If you have like a decent start, you're just kind of like not sure what you're doing. You're like, I could do this. It's kind of an interesting thing to do. Arwen, Mortal Queen. 1 green, white for a 2/2. Enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it. You can pay 1 and remove an indestructible counter from it. Another target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. Put a +1/+1 counter and a lifelink counter on that creature and this creature. So I kind of think that you're just supposed to pay 1 whenever. Like because it's just so much tempo. But you don't have to, too. You can just keep this around. You can just hang out. You can just wait. Like your opponent can't use removal spells and stuff. Like it's really good. Like, I don't know. You see red mana and you're like sad, but other than that, like it's a really good card. A lot of tempo, a lot of lifelink. There are not tons of lifelink cards in the set, but this is one of them. Blocks really well. Like you just wears the ring well. All kinds of good stuff. Armin Undomiel. Oh boy. Green blue for a 2/2. When you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And you can pay 6 to scry 2 for a green and a blue. Yeah, I think this card's pretty decent. Obviously, I think this is the card that you want to be playing if you're playing blue green. I don't really think you're supposed to be speculating on this too highly. I think there are people that will do that early on in the format. But I don't know. I do think that in your deck, in the blue-green deck, this is going to be like one of the better cards in your deck. So I do like it for those reasons. The Balrog. Durin's Bane. 5 black-red for a 7/5. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent sacrifice this turn. It has haste. It can't be blocked except by legendary creatures. And when it dies, destroy target artifact or creature an opponent controls. So the problem with this card is that it's very expensive and all of its abilities kind of like contradict each other. Mostly it's just kind of a huge like beater, like it just hits for 7. It's kind of what it does, which isn't great. But like, I don't know. If it turns out that this format's slow enough that you can get to 7 lands like kind of consistently, becomes an enormous like problem. Like it does hit your opponent for 7 when you play it, and that's a lot of damage. If you're somewhat stable, you just cast it, and it's like, well, it'll probably wipe out like half their board, maybe. So I like it as like a C. Like I don't think it's very good because it is so expensive, and it costing less for each sacrifice permanent like basically doesn't mean anything at all. But Bilbo, Retired Burglar. 1 blue-red for 1/3 when it enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield. The ring tempts you. When it deals combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token. So it's really a 3, like you gotta, like yes, it is a 3-mana 1/3 at the end of the day here. Like yes, you give it the ring when it enters the battlefield. Great. It probably is not going to get blocked, but like attacking for treasure, like yeah, making treasure tokens is really good. But I don't know. Like your opponents, like there's a lot of 1/4s in this set. Like just like a lot. And I just have like such a hard time. Like, what if your opponent plays a 3/3 and just attacks you? Are you just like, oh, like yes, maybe get your tempo back with the treasure, but maybe you don't. And like you had to attack with this. It never blocks. This card can never block ever. And if it doesn't have good attacks, it's just completely useless. And I think that comes up sometimes. So I have lots of doubts about this card. Again, it could get there, and I could be wrong, but I have concerns for sure. Butterbur, Bree, Innkeeper. 2 green-white for a 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, if you don't control a food, create a food token. Notably, that this also means that if you control Lembas bread, it does not create a food token, so bad with Lembas. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of like value to generate if you are generating 2 food a turn. It's just very difficult to get there because you have to have sack outlets. Like if you play the 2-drop green dog into this thing, like this, this is like real. Like that's real. That is a real thing to be doing. But if you don't have a repeatable free sacrifice outlet, this card really falls off hard because it is a 4-mana 3/3. Like yes, it does eventually gain you 3 life, but the fact that it doesn't gain you the 3 life up front is very bad. It's threatening. Like I think it is decent. That's why it's in tier 3 and not tier 4. But I don't know. I have skepticism. Denethor, Ruling Steward. 1 white, black for a 2/4. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. And you can pay 2, sacrifice another creature, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Yeah, I mean, this is like one of those cards that enables itself. Just does a lot of good stuff. Sort of part of the reason, like I don't know, I just think it's a really solid card. It's really strong. It just does a lot of good stuff here. You don't even have to like do anything. You can just, again, there's a lot of creatures in this set that punish you for blocking. Like if you like for trading, I guess. Like if you on turn 3 if your opponent is playing white black on turn 3 attacks you, and you trade 2 drops, and they play this, you're like, man, really wish I didn't trade. There's like a couple of other things. It's like if a creature died this turn, you draw a card at your end step. And it's like there's just these punishments for trading into like open mana. So I think you're like kind of not supposed to block in this set. I don't know. That's sort of what I'm thinking about. Doors of Durin. 3 red, green for a artifact. When you attack, scry 2. Then if you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Until your next turn, it gains trample if you control a dwarf and hexproof if you control an elf. Yeah, I think this card's really bad. I know it kind of like might read like it's insane, but similarly to the horse, this is actually just like a worse Shadowfax in my opinion. Like you have to. So the problem with this card, and with all cards like this card, is that you already have to have a good attack. Like you have to have a good attack for this to be playable. For this to even do anything, you have to be attacking. Which is going to happen, most of the time, I would say 60% of the time over the course of a game, you're gonna have 5 mana up and a good attack. Okay, great. So we have one good attack. That's excellent. So we're getting, what are we getting out of that? A scry 2 for 5 mana, and then maybe if I hit a creature that actually has a good attack, I can put it onto the battlefield. And if I don't, then I'm just throwing away a creature for no reason, and I paid 5 mana for that. And then you have no defense at all, and you just like lose. I don't know. This card just seems like horrible. Yes, it takes over the game 1 in 100 games, but I just don't. It just isn't happening. So, fun commander card or whatever. Elrond, Master of Healing. 2 green blue for a 4/4. When you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on each of the X target creatures, where X is the number of cards that will scry in this way. When a creature you control becomes with the +1/+1 counter on it becomes the target of a spell or ability your opponent controls, you may draw a card. Yeah, I mean, this is really solid, right? If you just have, like, you can even put them on this, too. So, like, that's good. Like, even if you just scry 1, put the counter on this, yeah, great. I don't know. It just does, like, so much work. It just does so much work. Yoan, Fearless Knight. 2 red, white for a 3/4 haste. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with greater power. Legendary creatures you control gain protection from each of that creature's colors until its turn. So if this card actually like does all of the things that it says on it, it's basically like one of the most busted cards ever. It's like just a better, like, I don't know, it just does everything. That is going to only happen like 20% of the time. I mean, like, a card that says 20% of the time you win the game, like, that's a pretty good card. If, like, the other card, like, if the other part of the card is just like, yeah, I mean, it's just like a fine card, like a 4 mana 3/4 haste is not good, but it's fine. Notably, the creature doesn't just like, when I read this card at first, I thought the creature that you exiled just like came back. No, it doesn't come back. It just goes. It just leaves. Again, like if the ability resolves, you just win the game on the spot. It like doesn't even really matter. Like nothing else matters. Like you just start getting such a huge, unbelievable tempo blowout that like you can't lose basically. So yeah, I mean this card's just insane. Faramir, Prince of Ithilien. 2 white blue for a 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, choose an opponent. At the beginning of that next player's end step, you draw a card if they attack you. Otherwise, create 3 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. Yeah, so this card's really good because it actually, like, even if they remove it, you still get the trigger. So, like, if you, at your end step, if you say, okay, I'm targeting my opponent, and then they kill this, you still get either 3 1/1s or a card out of the deal. So you're basically just, like, guaranteed to get a 2-for-1 off of this guy. And then if it survives for a turn, you just get another one, and it just completely but like if your opponent doesn't have a removal for this, they just lose because they just get completely overrun immediately. Yeah. Flame of Enor. 1 blue red for an instant. Choose 1 if you control a wizard as you cast this spell. You may choose 2 instead. You can draw 2 cards. Target player draws 2 cards. Destroy target artifact, or it deals 5 damage to target creature. Yeah, I mean modality is good, right? Like that's one of the things that we hold to be true. 3 mana deal 5, also really efficient. 3 mana draw 2, not great, but when you want it, it's an instant and it's not the worst. You're probably never doing that. And destroy target artifact again. It comes up sometimes. Yeah, I mean I like the card quite a bit. Obviously I have it in tier 1. Mostly for flexibility. It's just a really flexible removal spell. Friendly Rivalry. Green-red for an instant. Target creature you control and up to 1 other target legendary creature you control each deal damage equal to the power to target creature you don't control. So yeah, we've seen this type of effect before. It is usually better than a straight-up bite spell because it doesn't get blown out as easily, but it also doesn't. Like I don't think it's that much better. Like I think it's still fine, and you have to. The punishment is you have to pay 2 colors of mana for this, which is not good. So it's sort of a blah, red, green, golden common. Don't really like whatever. Frodo Baggins. Green, white for a 1/3. When Frodo Baggins or another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, the ring tempts you. As long as it's your ring bearer, it must be blocked to Fable. So, kind of cool. It actually eats all the 1/1s your opponent has. It interacts very well with the ring specifically. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like this card quite a bit. Originally, when I saw it, I was like 2 mana 1/3, but then I was like, gotta think about it, you know. Gotta have some critical thinking skills, and then it was a little bit better once I thought about it critically. It still wasn't like that much better, you know. But yeah, it's fine. Gladriel of Lothorian. 1 green, blue for a 3/3. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than this as your ring bearer, scry 3. Whenever you scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If a land card is revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Yeah, this is great. Obviously, it just basically draws you cards, scries you for free whenever you tempt the ring. All that good stuff. Yeah, it's also a 3 mana 3/3, which again in this set is actually kind of large, so I like the card. Gandalf the Grey. 3 blue red for a 3/4. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell, choose one that hasn't been chosen. You may tap or untap target permanent. It deals 3 damage to target opponent, or you copy an instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for it. You can also put Gandalf on top of its library. So eventually you have to put him back on top, and then you really reset all his abilities and recast him. Like, if you're doing that, you're just like winning the game anyway. So like that doesn't really matter. But I mean, eventually it just like gives you card disadvantage, so you just kind of don't want that to ever happen. I don't know. This card's like not great, but like I kind of want it to be good, so that's why I rated it at tier 3. I don't think it's actually very good. It's also not that good in a deck with tons of instant sorceries. You kind of only want to cast like a couple, and then you don't want this any. I don't know. It's strange. Gandalf's Sanction. 1 blue-red for a sorcery. It deals X damage to target creature where X is the number of instant sorcery cards in your graveyard. Excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. So obviously you need to build around this card. You need a lot of instants and sorceries. There are tons of blue cantrips in this set. All kinds of blue, small, cheap cards that fuel this very, very well. It's basically just like a burn spell eventually. And yeah, I mean, it's just a solid card. Like, it's good removal. Now, again, you can't really cast it on turn 3, which is tough. But like, whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, it's good. Gimli, Mournful Avenger. 1 red green for 3/2. It has indestructible as long as 2 or more creatures died under your control this turn. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Gimli. When this ability resolves for the 3rd time this turn, Gimli fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So it's kind of a weird, like, it's mostly just a 3 mana 3/2 that just grows when your stuff dies. But sometimes, like, there will be weird turns where you just, like, get to fight their thing somehow. I don't know, I'm sure it'll come up sometimes. Kind of a weird ability. But yeah. I don't know. It seems like okay. It's probably worse. I'm like never gonna like pick this early. Like I'm only gonna play. Like I'm never gonna play this card. Like I'm just never gonna be able to draft it. So never gonna get to play it. Gwahir the Windlord. 4 white blue for a 4/4. Flying Vigilance. The spell costs 2 less to cast as long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn. Other birds you control have Vigilance, which there are some other birds, so it's not completely nothing. Yeah, I actually like this card quite a bit. The ring allows you to loot for free. A 4/4 Flying Vigilance for 4 is really good. Like, really, really good. And, like, I don't know, even if you have to pay, like, 1 or 2 mana to cantrip, is that bad? It's not that bad. So, I don't know. I like this card decently. I don't think it's anything special, but I think it's fine. Similarly, King of the Oathbreakers, 2 white black for a 3/3 flyer. When it or another spirit you control becomes the target of a spell, it phases out. Whenever it or another spirit you control phases in, create a tapped 1/1 white spirit token with flying. It mostly just has hexproof. That's kind of like mostly what it does. It doesn't really do anything else. Like 4 mana 3/3 flying hexproof. But you can't target it either. It basically has Shroud, I guess. Because you never want to target, like, you target this with like a combat truck, it doesn't do anything, it just phases out and then doesn't hit your opponent. I don't know, I just don't like this. Like, it doesn't even, like you, let's say you block with this, and your opponent, like, is, like, but I guess you're never doing, I don't know. It just seems so bad. It just seems so bad, I don't know. I don't know, I'm not seeing it with this guy. How? Yeah, I don't know. Legoless. Counter of kills. 2 green, blue for a 2/3 with reach. When you scry it, if it's tapped, you untap this. Do it only once each turn. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on it. I don't know. This card's really bad. Seems to be firing an arrow like perpendicular to the bow, but that's not my business. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just like kind of weird. I mean, in format like 2/3 reach isn't like the absolute least playable card of all time. But like, how are you ever killing a creature? It's blue green. Like, it's just never happening. So I don't know. Lotho, corrupt sheriff. White black for a 2/1. Whenever a player casts their second spell on a turn, you lose 1 life and create a treasure token. Yeah, this card seems decent. Like, it's good on turn 2, but again, it's a 2/1. Like, that's not, like, a 2/1 is not good. Like, it's not. Like, yes, it's annoying, kind of, but like, and then in the late game, it kind of becomes a liability. It's like, oh well, my opponent's just burning me out here. You could maybe like chump attack with it, but I don't know. Yes, if for some reason your opponent is double spelling on like turn 4, this card is good. But like, yes, you can double spell too, but you're really gonna double spell on turn 3? No, you're probably not double spelling on turn 4. And then it's fine. Like, the treasure matters less when you can actually use it. So it's like a fine card. Marker Urukai Captain. Red black for a 2/2 menace. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on an army, goblin, or orc you control, that many +1/+1 counters plus an additional one are put on it instead. Yep, solid card. Nothing special, just good early. Like, it's a solid playable. I don't know, like, nothing particularly interesting. It's all stats. It does have menace. That's good. Notably, if you put counters on this somehow, which I don't actually think there's any way to possibly do in the entire set, it becomes a 4/4 menace, and that would be huge. If you could do that in this set, it would be actually really good. But the fact that you can't is kind of a bit tough. Mary, Esquire of Rohan. It's a 2/2 or a red white for a 2/2 haster. It has first strike as long as it's crypt, and when it attacks with another legendary creature, draw a card. Yeah, really solid, good. It might actually end up in this set because the set's low power. It might end up being a tier 1 card. It's a good card. You are probably going to draw a card off it a lot of the time. There are equipment. Oh, this isn't even a human. Oh, you couldn't. Because there's the one equipment and that's a white that you can equip for 1. And I'm like, oh, human that you can equip. Nope, no, you can't equip this. So sorry, there's no actually good equipment for this card, other than like mythics. So I mean, like, good luck with that. I mean, I'm sure it'll happen, but not for me. The Mouth of Sauron. 3 blue-black for a 3/4 legendary creature. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 3 cards. Then you amass Orcs X, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in that player's graveyard. Yeah, I really like this card. It like the fact that you don't usually want to use this to target your opponent, but sometimes like you can. Like, the fact that you can is nice. It is I like that design. Personally, I'm a big fan of that. Just giving you more options with this type of effect, like, just, yeah, I don't know. I just like allowing players to like have more options with stuff. But yeah, this is just a solid. Like, it's gonna be pretty efficient. Like, by turn 5, you're probably gonna be able to cast 2 spells, maybe, and then like this gets you a 3/3 or a 2/2, or like, if you just get you a 2/2, you're like, fine. It's like, it's not great. Like, it's not a great. If this card was like a 5-mana 3/4 make a 2/2, not a good card. 5-mana 3/4 make a 3/3. That's now we're getting somewhere. Like, that's a lot better. So, yeah, I mean, if you get to 2, it's fine, and everything past that is just good. So I really like this card. Old Man Willow, 2 black green for a star. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or token. When you do, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn. So a lot of people think this card is insane. I am not super interested in it as of right now. One of the reasons for this is that the color pair is black green. So like there's an aversion to anything going on with like green black just generally. So this is definitely taking some heat from that. The thing about this card is that it doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield, which is bad, admittedly. It's probably a 5/5, but you know, they're a game like you don't want to be playing too many lands in the set. Again, you want to be looting away your lands. So like, this isn't going to get too huge. It might get to be a 6/6. That's as big as it's getting, like a 4-mana 6/6. A 4-mana 6/6 is not a good card. Probably. I think it's probably just like medium. It's probably like a C, so great. Tier 3 card. And then like, yeah, like you can sacrifice stuff to kill your opponent's things, but that requires there 2 things to be true. One, you have to have something that you are comfortable sacrificing, and 2, you have to have your opponent has to have something that you are capable of killing with -2/-2. And those 2 things I think are only gonna come up 30% of the time, and I think that's a little bit low. So, like, that's 30% of the time when you're actually attacking with this, and then like, there's a number of times where you are having to block, or like there's other things happening that you want to do, or like it just doesn't work out, you know. So, I'm starting a bit low on this. Pippin, Guard of the Citadel. White-blue for a 2/2 Vigilance Ward 1. You can tap it, another target creature you control gains protection from the card type of your choice until end of turn. So yeah, this card's really annoying to deal with. It also sometimes like lets you get lethal. You can just go pro creatures and just like attack them for lethal. So that's a cool use of it. You can protection from spells. You can like instants. You can do sorceries. Just a nice guy. Now it can't target itself, but it has Ward 1 at least, so your opponent's gonna have to pay a little bit. It does have Vigilance too, which is like sneaky good. I like this card. I like it a lot. Prince Emeril the Fair. Blue or white-blue for a 2/2. Another white-blue for a 2/2. When you draw your second card on each turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So, yeah, I mean, this just like makes a lot of 1/1s, and like you are incentivized to drawing second cards, and that's great. Like you're just gonna do, like again, blue has all these cheap cantrips, and this is just gonna work really well with those. And then like it attaches a 1/1 to all of your guys, and like your opponent's just gonna want to deal with it. So, really like it. Ring Sight. 1 blue-black for a sorcery. The ring tempts you. Search your library for a card that shares a color with a legendary creature you control. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. So you're likely to have a legendary creature because the ring is tempting you. But 3 mana sorcery speed tutor is a very bad card. Or, like, it's not like very bad. It's bad and limited, generally, unless you have something absurd. And as I've noted, there really isn't anything that good in the set. Like, there's really nothing that is gonna just like completely win you the game, except for like maybe Sauron, and like if you're playing the Grixis Sauron deck, sure, maybe you can grab Sauron and like cast it, and just your opponent can't kill it and you win. But there's just so many things that you have to do to get this card to be workable that I just don't think it's very good. Rise of the Witch King. 2 green black for a sorcery. Each player sacrifices a creature. If you sacrifice a creature this way, you may return another target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah, I mean, like, this card, it's so expensive, right? Like, you're 4 mana. By the time you're paying 4 mana for this, your opponent's probably going to have something like a 2-drop, and they're just like, okay, whatever, I'll sacrifice my 2-drop, and then I'll keep my 3-drop. And it's like, well, yeah, and then if you have something that's like a token, then you can sacrifice and get back your land cycle. That's what you're trying to do with this. But I think it's just gonna come up so infrequently that like I'm just like I don't know. But the upside is high. There's high upside. It's just this. The downside is low. You know, that's the part that I have an issue with. Samwise Gamgee, green white for a 2/2. When another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a food token. You can sacrifice 3 foods, return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. Yep, just food generator, solid value card generator, does a lot of good stuff. Happy about this. Just really solid, I don't know. Nothing really else to say, like, he just is not so bad, you know. Saruman of Many Colors. 3 white, blue, black. For a 5/4, it has Ward, discard an enchantment, instant, or sorcery card, so, like, very difficult. When you cast your second spell each turn, each opponent mills 2 cards. When 100 or more cards are milled this way, exile target enchantment, instant, or sorcery card with equal or less mana value than the spell that you cast from the opponent's graveyard. Copy the exiled card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. It's basically like an unkillable, it's basically like a very difficult to kill 5/4. That's also very difficult to cast, and maybe does something that is good when you cast your second spell. But like, yeah, I mean, if you can cast the card, it's fine. I don't think there's anything special about it, but if you can cast the card, it's fine. Like 6 mana is a lot for a 5/4, and doesn't enter the battlefield and do anything. But it is threatening for sure. Sauron, the Dark Lord. 3 blue, black, red for a 7/6. When it has Ward, sacrifice a legendary artifact or a legendary creature. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, amass Orcs 1. Whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. And whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand if you do draw 4 cards. So this card is just really busted, right? Like, it's just 6. Like, this is so much better than this card, as you can see. It does have immediate board impact. The ward is like more achievable, but is higher cost. Like, you're gonna have to sacrifice one of you're 2 for 1ing yourself again to deal with this. And like, I don't know, like all of its abilities are insane. Like, it just completely takes over the game immediately. Because if they ever cast anything, you just get a bigger army, and then your army, whenever it does stuff, like attacks, is better, and then like there's all kinds of good stuff that this does. So I like it a lot. Sauron's Ransom. 1 blue, black for a instant. Choose an opponent, they look at the top 4 cards of your library and separate them into a face down and face up pile. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. The ring tempts you. Yeah, I really like this card, obviously. If your opponent ever gives you 3 cards, you're probably just supposed to take the 3 face up ones. Like, I don't know. It's really tough. Like, I don't know. People, the number of people that like were like trying to bait me with Atris into taking the face down card and just were never able to like get me to do it was a bit of a privilege. Like, I had somebody with Atris give me Norn's Inquisitor land face up, and I took the face up cards, and the face down card was a land, and I was like my brother in Christ, like, we're like, this bluff is bad. Like, you've the Norn's Inquisitor is like the best card in my deck, and you've put it face up with a land. How am I not? I don't understand. So you will have opponents that will do that for you, and they will be very nice. So it's also being an instance nice. I don't know why. I don't know if that's supposed to be Gandalf on the horse or just like some random dude, but he looks like he's bugging for sure. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, he's fine. This card's decent. It's pure card advantage though, and you know that's not always the best. Shadow Summoning. White black for a sorcery, create 2 tapped 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. Yeah, it's really strong. This is really strong. When you cast it on 2, like, your opponent is just so far behind because you have 2 like game objects, but also they have flying, and also like them being tapped almost doesn't matter because like, when are you ever going to be blocking with your 1/1 flyer? Like, the turn that you cast it, like, it's so rare that it comes up that it just doesn't, like, the being tapped doesn't matter, and it's just like, it's just so much, like, it's such a fast clock too. Like, yeah, it's just really busted. Shadowfax, Lord of Horses. 3 red white for a 4/4. Horses you control have haste. When Shadowfast Lord of Forces attacks, you may put a creature card with lesser power on from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Don't like this card very much. 5 mana 4/4 haste is not very good. It's medium, and that's basically all this is. What are the scenarios where you have a 5 mana 4/4 haste, and then also another creature with power 3 or less that also has a good attack, and you haven't already won the game? Like when is that happening? And the answer is it's never happening. It's literally never ever happening. I don't like it's like the game has already ended. If this card is like going to win you the game already, like if it's a 5 mana 4/4 haste that has good attacks, okay, great. But your opponent already has like no creatures then, and then the thing you play like doesn't matter because the game's already over. So I don't know. This is just such a weird card that I don't think is like the temp. Like there's tempo, but it's not tempo though, because like they just like eat your guy so much of the time that it's just not very good. Shagrat Lootbearer, 2 black red for a 4/4. When it attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment to it. Okay. Then amass Orcs X, where X is the number of equipment cards on it. Yeah, I mean I don't know. You're not gonna be playing equipment ever, but if you have like there is expensive equipment in this set that is there's some good equipment that like like you could theoretically see a deck that wants one of the bad equipments that this thing could play, and then yeah, I mean I don't know, like it seems decent to me, but still not very good. It's 4 mana 4/4. Like those aren't good. Although I think they are better in this set than they have been recently. Sharky, Tyrant of the Shire. 2 blue black for a 2/4. Activated abilities of lands your opponents control can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. When this has all the activated abilities of lands your opponents control except mana abilities. Mana abilities can be spent to activate any of Sharky abilities or mana, whatever. I don't care. This card's bad. Who cares? Like this just isn't no, absolutely not. Shelob, Child of Ungoliant, I don't know. 4 black green for an 8/8 Death Touch Ward 2. So other spiders you control have Death Touch and Ward 2. Whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature except it's a food artifact with 2. Sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life and lose all other card types. So basically it makes a bunch of food when it kills stuff. It's just huge. Like basically the thing about this card that's so good about it is it's enormous. The thing that's bad about it is that it's basically just enormous. Like, yes, like it doesn't completely take over the game immediately. Yes, it's huge. Like it is big, and you can't really your opponent can't really afford to just be like, no blocks. And trumping for them is not that good. Obviously, because you just start gaining life, and they can't really crack you back. So it is a very strong card. It just does, Golgari and also 6 mana. So. Smeagol, Helpful Guide. 1 black green for a 4/2. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, the ring tempts you. Okay, things that are never happening. When the ring tempts you, target opponent reveals the top card of their library until they reveal a land card. Put that land card on the battlefield tapped under your control and thus into their graveyard. So this thing actually mills them a little bit if your stuff dies. If you have enablers for this, it's actually very good, and it's just very strong by itself. It's a 3 mana 4/2 with relevant abilities that make your opponent not want to kill your stuff, but again, this is another one of those creatures. There's a bunch of these that when you trade off your 2-drops, you should just, I think generally on turn 2 in this format, you just shouldn't block your opponent's 2-drop. So turn 2 and 3, you should be against trading, because there's so many rares that just punish you so bad. There's uncommons and rares that just punish you so hard for doing that. Like this one, for example, where it's just just unnecessary. The trading was unnecessary, so we just don't want to do it, I think. Strider, Ranger of the North. 2 red, green for a 4/4 with landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Then if that creature has power 4 or greater, it gains first strike until end of turn. So it attacks as something large, but again, it's just a big dude. That's all it is. It's just a guy that is a 4/4. It can make your other stuff bigger, and that's great. Again, there's not really that much landfall synergy in the set. There's 4 cards with landfall or something. There's really not many. So I genuinely don't know why they bothered to put it in the set. It seems really unnecessary to me, but Theoden, King of Rohan. 1 red white for a 2/3. When it or another human you control, or another human enters the battlefield under their control, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. So there's a lot of things to like about this card. One of the things to like about it is that it's not limited to once per turn, so that's really good. So when you cast the 2 mana red instant or sorcery that makes 2 guys, this thing just works with that, which is, we give thumbs up to the camera. This thing just is also an absolute bust, right? Like it attacks as like a 4/3. You don't really ever want to be attacking with it because, like, you know, just this is such a huge threat that your opponent has to kill it anyway. But yeah, I mean, this thing can just take over the game. Like on turn 4, there's so many things that just like pump your creature's power and our humans that like this could just really be really strong. I really like it a lot. So Tom Bombadil. I am not going to bother reading Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil is a WUBRG card that involves sagas. It is not playable in limited, and is not worth going after because not only is Tom Bombadil bad, but all of the sagas are also bad. So don't play him. Olguk of the White Hand. 2 black red for a 3/3. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Olguk of the White Hand. If that creature was a goblin or orc, instead put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Yeah, I mean this like it just isn't like these type of cards. Once again, like we have to be disciplined, right? Like on this, like there's this type of card. People seem to like this card for whatever reason. Like that we just saw Ichor Shade. This is just Ichor Shade. This is just another Ichor Shade that costs 1 more mana and actually has only 1 more stat. So it's actually kind of worse and it's 2 colors. And what it gives you in exchange for that is that it maybe gets bigger even faster when orcs die or goblins die. So like the just like being a big dumb creature is not good. So like even if this is that, and you have to like sacrifice your own stuff to get it there, it just isn't. I just don't. It's not. I'm just. It's not my stuff. You know. All right. So that's it for the multicolored stuff. Hopefully there was anything enlightening in this video for you, and hopefully it's made me a better player or card evaluator along the way. If there was anything enlightening, feel free to stick around and watch the other ones. If not, I don't know. I guess I don't know why you're still here. So, see ya.